Hey everybody, welcome to Ronline Report. Today's guest, someone I've seen for years and years online in his DVDs. Been waiting for a chance to finally talk to this guy. You know him as one of the greatest amateur bodybuilders in the United States of America to never get his pro card yet. We'll talk about that. Please welcome, all the way from, was it Delaware?
Delaware.
Delaware is actually a state, for those who didn't know.
Delaware?
Delaware, and that's a state in the USA. Dave Pulcinella, how are you?
You make me sound like I'm actually somebody, dude.
You are somebody.
When you introduce me like that, I feel like I'm actually way more important than I actually am.
Well, I consider you one of those people who made more of an impact than most pros and became better known than most pros by sharing. I hate to steal all these cliche words, but your journey, all those years with the
everything's a journey now.
It's a journey. There's a lot of journeys.
Well, I cherish that ideal. To be honest with you, what you just said resonates with me, and it means a lot to me.
Yeah, so
it really does.
I don't know much about you. All I know is I know your brother a little bit, Mike Pulcinella, who is one of the greatest videographer, writer, director, producers in this game. He did He did tons and tons of great work for MHP. All those Kai Green videos. I'm sure I'm forgetting a lot, but
NYBB Blue, if you remember that series.
Yeah. Victor Martinez. I mean,
Victor Martinez. All those things.
He was basically MHP's. Is he still with MHP and Muscle Meds?
He is. Yeah.
Okay. So he's been their videographer for years. Their chief videographer. He's made some incredible content. And
he still does.
He still does. Yeah. It's at a higher level than what we normally see.
Well, the thing about it was all we had until he came along was the Mitsuri videos, where it was in real time and you had to watch every set and every rep and with him like picking his nose in between sets and everything, to no music, to no background, to no editing, to no what's it called, narration or anything like that.
And
he came along and he made a documentary style, real life type thing that no one had ever done before. It's been done a lot since, but not before it hadn't.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this is. We'll get into the whole series. So I want to talk about it, but I don't know anything about you. So tell me how you go back in time. How did you get into bodybuilding?
Yeah. I was beaten up every day on a daily basis in my neighborhood in Southwest Philly growing up. Yeah. I was, I grew up in the wrong place, man, because I was into the piano. I had a piano in my house and I would play and the kids could hear it outside and they just couldn't wait to just pound me for that.
Jeez.
You show any sign of weakness, being intimidated, anything like that, or if you show sensitivity or autistic nature about you, you got your ass kicked in that.
A glimmer of intelligence. Yeah, they hate that.
Intelligence, sensitivity, culture was not to be tolerated in that neighborhood. Yeah. So every time I'd leave the house, literally every time, I got my ass handed to me in some manner or another. They were just relentless. And we had a full gym in the basement. My dad was an Olympic lifter when he was younger, competitive.
Wow. That's right. Wow.
Yeah. And a bodybuilder back, he had a very Steve Reeves-like physique back in his day.
Wow.
So he said, look, here's what you need to do. And I took right to it. And he used to write up my programs for me. Basically what I do for people now, he did for me when I was a child.
Okay.
I started when I was 12, 13 years old. He would write up a push-pull program or, push-pull program or, body part program. Show me how to divide the body parts up and do specific type workouts. And then he'd do my meal plans up for me and I would eat the specific way. He had me doing this protein shake at night. And back then we only had soy protein, if you remember. Yeah. It was wretched. Yeah. But I would drink it because my dad, showed me how to make in the blender with the eggs and the protein and the peanut butter and the ice cream, just calories. And I grew and I loved it. So by the time I was a teenager, I was competing my first show. I was 16 years old.
Wow.
And I took dead last because I had no idea what I was doing. Yeah. And I came back the next year and I won the Teenage Delaware County at 18 years old.
Wow. Cool.
So that was it for me, man. I was hooked.
So what was your first year competing? How long ago are we talking?
So remember 1975, the movie Pumping Iron came out?
77, yeah.
Well, it was filmed in 75.
Yeah, I'm a stickler for stupid details.
Good job, man. Just put me in my place.
But you're correct, 75, because it was 75.
75 was 75 Olympia, but it took a couple years to come out, yeah.
But
that's when I started.
Wow.
When that movie came out. And here's the thing. These kids these days, they have no idea how good they have it, because you can go online on YouTube and watch anything you want. All your major heroes doing their workouts, what they eat, what gear they take. I didn't even know gear existed for the 10 years into me doing this sport. I had no idea that it even existed. It was part of the sport at all. So what you would do is you would look in the TV guide and you'd find out when Pumping Iron was going to come on channel 12, which was the station, the area station.
Yeah.
And when it would come on, you'd mark that day, and I would sit there and I would watch it, and I'd record it on my little cassette tape recorder so I could listen to it while I worked out. That's all we had.
Yeah. Wow.
But using just that and watching that movie, I put together a diet, a workout with the help of my father as well, a posing routine. So that first time I stepped on stage, I had a full choreographed routine to music. Now you got these kids who get on stage and they're flopping around like a fish out of water. Yeah. It's like you have all these tools, these resources available to you. What are you doing with them? All I could do is watch Arnold and Lou and Franco pose on for 15 seconds on that movie and copy it in my head and just rehearse it until I could do it on stage. And that's how we did it back then.
So 1975 was your first competition?
No, that's when I started lifting.
Okay.
So my first competition was 82.
82. Wow. Okay. Well,
Delaware County and AAU Delaware County. And I took, like I said, dead last.
So if 82, you were 16. So you're 3 years old. So were you born in 66?
64.
64. Okay.
I'm really old.
No, that's the same year as Ronnie Coleman. I believe
so. Yeah.
Dorian, I think.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah, it was a good year. I think Kevin, a ton of people.
Yeah, I'm their age exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yep.
Well, you look great, man. I assumed I knew you were at least my age. I didn't know if you were any older, but yeah. So you started off competing. I mean, I go on a site called Muscle Memory a lot of times to try. It's not totally comprehensive, but the guy does a really good job. The earliest show I could find for you was 91. So this was 91 USA.
Okay.
AAU you were competing in back then, which was still they were going strong up until the mid 90s, I recall, I think. And they finally sort of disbanded.
Right.
NABA, you did NABA USA. You won your class
Correct.
in that in 96. And you moved on to NPC. 2003 was your first time, it looks like. The Nationals. You must have qualified somewhere for that. Light heavyweight didn't place.
Yes, I won. Yeah, won the. What year was that?
It said 2003 for the NPC National.
Yeah, I qualified I won the Delaware State and East Coast Classic, both shows at that show. Yeah, and overall at both.
And you would do the North American several times, it looks like. Open and Masters. Heavyweight, 7th place, 2004. 2005, 7th place in Junior Nationals, 6th place in the heavies at the North American, and won for the first of 3 times. You won the Masters heavyweight title at the North American. Wow, 3 times.
3 years in a row, and then I called it quits.
3 years in a row. Wow. So that was like when Kai took second at the Olympia 3 years in a row. He's like, screw this.
Exactly. That's exactly what I said. I said, screw this. They're just going to keep giving it to the Canadian. Oh man, that was a tough decision I had to make, and I know that if I had come back the next year, I probably would have got my card. But at that point, I was so burnt out, and I was so disappointed, and I didn't feel like I could be better, and I wasn't going to come back unless I could be at least as good or not better. But now I know I had a good, honestly, 10 years left in me because I kept improving after I retired.
Yeah,
I kept growing, and I improved myself. Everything improved. I wasn't done yet, but I was done yet.
That's the thing. I mean, you know, I tried to get my pro card a few times, and I stopped in 2013, but ever since then, if you do this, let me know. So I know I'm not the only friggin' loser. Every time there's a Masters Pro qualifier, it's over. I go and look at the pictures and say, I would have won. Or, well, sometimes I'm like, no, there's no way I was beating that guy. But a lot of times I said, I think I would have beat that guy. And sometimes I'll be like, I definitely would have beat that guy. And he's a pro now. So
I got news for you. I do that today. I do that up till today.
Torture.
I look at some of the guys, winning the classic physique, and I'm like, I could have.
Yeah.
But it's never going to go away. And then you feel like there's certain times. It's been since 2007 since I retired, and there are still times when I look at what's going on and think, oh man, the sport's getting away from me. I gotta do what?
Yeah.
Just relax, dude. You started competing when you were like an embryo, and now you're like a million. Just let it go.
So, I mean, but you had that same dream and aspiration to be a pro. That's That's something
Yeah,
that's
but
planted.
that wasn't until the end. I'll tell you, when my goal became to turn pro was when I won that Delaware State in 2003, and I decided to try for the North Americans and the Nationals. That was when I first decided to turn pro. So I only really gave it 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, do you?
That's,
I don't want to say regrets, but do you want? Do
I
you
try not
sometimes?
to.
Yeah.
I try not to, but there were always two passions in my life, that and the piano. So they always shared my attention. So it wasn't like I had nothing else to fall back on.
Right.
So I don't have any regrets that way. And I'm glad I didn't kill myself doing it too.
Yeah,
To be honest with you.
I mean,
Because
that's
I sometimes wonder if I had gotten in with the right people
right.
who could have guided me, because I had no one in my circle, no one who really knew what they were doing or could teach me what to do. But I think if I had, and they taught me about the gear sooner, and I was pushing the envelope with that, like I would have if I knew about it,
Yeah.
I wonder if I wouldn't be a sickly man these days instead of healthy like I am.
See, that's a good question. So you were your own prep coach that whole time?
Oh yeah, I never had a coach.
Wow, that's awesome. Props to you.
That's one completely different thing between then and now. Is no one had a coach.
Yeah.
We learned piecemeal here and there, and then we put it all together into some cohesive whole for ourselves.
So
And that's what we just did. And we tweaked it.
Look back at that and think, here's two paths you could have gone. Maybe you could have gotten, I'm not going to name any of the big name coaches. There's a few. Say one of those coaches you had worked with, they put you on some crazy protocol and you got your pro card and you did some pro shows. I don't know how you would have done as a pro, but you would have had to continue that same or similar chemical path
In that vein, yeah, sure.
Do you think you'd still be here today? Do you think you'd be in good health today?
I don't know. And that's a really good question. I think about that a lot. Like, what would have happened if I was like pushing it like LeBron and those guys, and they were doing the European tour? Had I turned pro and did all that, there would have been a lot more gear use, a lot more wear and tear on my body. As it is, I have 6 surgeries.
Wow.
Both shoulders, both knees, and one of them had to be done twice.
Have you had the shoulders replaced?
No. I may at some point have to. I can still do some things, enough things to keep a deltoid cap there.
Yeah. I mean,
so as long as that's the case, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to get a replacement of anything.
Yeah.
But both quads tour within 6 months of each other.
Oof.
Doing like nothing. One was getting up out of a chair, and another one I kind of fell backwards when the dog jumped up on me. None of them happened in the gym. But obviously the wear and tear over the years set the stage for it to happen by doing nothing.
Sure.
6 months apart. So right when the first one had healed, I was getting ready to do legs again. The other one popped. Another 6 months healing.
All right. So let me see.
I tore this shoulder, then I tore this shoulder, and
so
those repairs didn't work.
But I mean, physique wise, you seem to be holding a very good size, considering all that, and considering you don't have to tell me any details, but it seems like you're definitely not on as much crap as you were back in the day. I mean, I don't think any of us are at this stage.
No, you have to carefully pick and choose the compounds when you get older. I'm about 245. I'm 5'8". I have abs, so I'm in fairly hard condition at 245 or 5'8". I'm happy with that. In fact, I don't even think I need to be that big. I'm 57, dude. I just don't. So I'm on the way down to probably 230. I'll probably set about there by the summertime. And that's fine for me. And I can do a very manageable amount of gear to do that. Yeah. Not TRT by any stretch of the imagination. I'll tell you that. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
But it's not crazy. And the compounds I pick and choose, I will not do an oral, for instance.
Yeah.
I'll mess with some Tren Hex every once in a while, but not the acetate. Anything that raises my blood pressure is out of the question. And I take my blood pressure 3 or 4 times a day.
Yeah.
So I won't do anything.
You had the calcium score and the EKG and all that crap.
I still have yet to get the calcium score. That I'm so curious to get. I really want to get that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting because that's what everyone's talking about now. What's your calcium
score? That's the big thing. Yeah, it's all the rage these days is the calcium score.
It's like in the 70s, it's what's your sign. Now it's what's your calcium
score. What's your sign? What's your calcium score?
The
thing is, you can have pristine blood work and still drop dead with the blockages that you don't detect.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things to check.
That?
A lot of things to stay on top of if you're actually doing your due diligence on your health, for sure.
Oh yeah.
So, I'm not on TRT either. I do TRT plus, I like to call it, or someone
you
actually
look amazing, dude. How old are you?
I'll be 53 in September.
That's insane.
But somebody
You're shredded.
I do
You're
try
definitely
to
harder than me right
I
now.
stay leaner because if I don't, my face looks like a pumpkin, and
Me too. That's the
not
first
good.
place I gain it and last place I lose it.
I'm
So I
curious.
never had a problem when I got shredded. I always still had a good face. I never had the Sharpay face because I held so much fat in there.
So you're 240. What's the heaviest you ever got to?
260,
Oh, okay.
which is absolutely ridiculous. I'm so uncomfortable. I can't wipe my ass. I can't go up a flight of steps. My joints hurt. I never hold it for long. I've been there like twice in my life, and I've held it for like a couple months.
Yeah. Okay.
Just to push the envelope on the size, and then hold the size while bringing the fat down.
Yeah.
And that was long after I retired. I was nowhere near that weight while I was still competing.
I was gonna say, because you were heavy, not a super, right?
I was a light heavy for most of my career.
Oh, okay.
I only turned into a heavy. I went up 2 weight classes when I was 41, which
Wow.
I'm very proud of to say that. I was always a light heavy. When I was 41, I decided to push the envelope.
Yeah.
And I went up from a light heavyweight to a super. I competed at the junior nationals as a super. That was the only show I did as a super, because I wasn't as effective as a super as I was as a heavyweight. Heavyweight was where I needed to be structurally.
Cool. Well, you said I could ask anything, and you said push the envelope. So can you give me an idea? Because I know there is a point where if you do go high on the doses, you will. There's a point of diminishing returns, but there's also that spot where you are going to carry more mass. So what was like the heaviest cycle you can ever recall doing that got you that huge?
I know right off the bat what the total was 3 grams.
Okay, I mean that's
not that
it's
bad.
not.
And that's during my competitive career. I do believe I pushed the envelope a little more than that one summer. When I just wanted to go to this beach and be the biggest freak there. That was my goal for that summer.
Yeah.
And I think I pushed it up to 4 grams at that point. I don't know why, because it's so stupid if you're not competing to do that.
I mean,
but that was probably about 10 years ago.
And that's still not. I've heard much worse. So it's so
way worse. People doing that per day.
I was going to say a figure girl, but that's probably. I don't want to be mean. Listen, they're not all on that much crap, but
some are.
Some are along.
When I get clients, sometimes I get these female clients who are with other coaches, and they've been competing for years. And I'm like, well, first thing I want to do is I want to see what you're doing gear wise, and they write it down, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Yeah, that's like a top open in my mind. It's like how this sport has progressed. No wonder people are dropping dead. Plus, the gear's filthy.
It's horrible. It's horrible.
It's not real. It's not real, and it's not dosed correctly, and it's filthy. And then we're putting more of it into our bodies.
Do you think that's a main reason that a lot of, some people are talking about that, but
yes.
You've talked about it. You have a great channel, Pulse Fitness on YouTube, and you've said some what we call inconvenient truths, things people don't really want to hear because it's kind of makes us because we're all most of us
cringeworthy, but it's true.
It is because most of us that's all we have access to is underground gear. And you're telling the truth. Underground gear is shit. Most of it.
It's shit. And even some of the top guys who should have access to pristine gear have access to the bullshit. When George Peterson died, they found nothing but test and I think one other compound, even though he thought he was on 5 different things.
Right.
And all they found was a bunch of test. Yeah. Everything's test probe now because it's the cheapest powder.
So I wonder if that's a huge advantage of going to Kuwait.
I believe that combined with the fact that nobody has any downtime anymore. It's balls to the wall year round because you got to be on point the whole year. There's an off season, then there's an on season. When my last few years, I took at least 3 months off completely of everything, of cardio, of weight training, of gear, eating more relaxed style for 3 months. My last year, 2007, I had taken a complete 6-month break, which probably was too much. And then from March till September 1st, which is not a long period of time, I took myself from a skinny fat fuck to winning the North Americans for the last time.
Wow, cool.
So
I want to start talking about the video series because the DVD series because that was probably the last wave of like bodybuilding DVDs because after that I don't know what the timeline was when the last one came out, but that was then you had YouTube, you had Instagram, and people were not going to be buying DVDs anymore. So
no DVDs. He still sells them as downloads now, but not DVDs.
Okay. So when did the idea come? Was it Mike's idea? Was it your idea? How did the Raising the Bar series come about?
Yeah. So I decided to do the 2003 Mr. Delaware East Coast Classic. I had been retired for a few years at that point. You never stay retired. So I came out of retirement. I said, let me give this one more shot at the local level, just to show the new people in my life, new friends, my new girlfriend. I wanted to show them what I do on stage. That was it. I did the show. I won both shows overall. And, it was one of those 2-in-1 shows, East Coast Classic, Delaware State. I won the whole thing. And my brother took note of that, and he goes, you know what, do that show again next year. It could be your last show if you want to. And I want to come because he had just got this new camcorder that he loved. He was like making these little mini documentaries, and he was like putting them on his software and editing them down. He loved it. He goes, I'll do this thing about you getting ready for this show and follow you around for like 12 weeks and show the ins and outs of bodybuilding. And then something I can put together and we can just show at a family gathering. And it'll just be something we could watch. Wow. And so that's what he did. And that was Raising the Bar 1, which followed me around to the Delaware State East Coast Classic 2004. And a lot of shit happened. If you remember, a lot of shit went down in that movie where I actually got to the show. I got to the show and they realized I had won the previous year. And Todd Howe said I couldn't compete again. After training for a year, he was going to send me home.
What? Come on now.
So Tracy Greenwood made a call to Jim Mannion and said, this is ridiculous. This guy trained a year. He's got all these people coming to watch him tonight, and you're going to lose a lot of money and this and that. And so they bent the rules and they let me do the East Coast part of the show, but not the Delaware State part.
There was no rule. They were just saying that. There was no rule.
Todd said there's like a rule that you can't win back to back. Now, I remember back in the day, people would defend their title on the state level time and time, as many times as they want to. A guy named Jose Manjerico was Mr. Delaware for like 10 years in a row, and he dominated the sport. And so that was always in my head. I always thought you could do it as many times as you want.
Yeah.
So apparently there was this new NPC rule, and Todd knew about it, and I didn't know about it. The promoter of the show didn't know about it because he knew I was coming back to defend my title.
Yeah.
And no one told me until I got there that I couldn't compete. He's like, oh, maybe you can guest pose. And, I'm like, I'm not here to guest pose, man. I'm here to beat everybody who showed up to compete.
Right.
I trained a year for this. My brother videoed it. Now, this can't be the end of the movie.
Seriously.
And it wasn't. So wow. I ended up winning that show. I ended up winning the show again. And it was a great, happy ending for the Raising the Bar 1. So that's how it came about. And then, remember I don't know if you know Guy Grundy?
Yeah. Yeah, from Australian, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Somehow he saw it. I don't remember how. And then he liked it so much that he asked my brother for 20 copies to see if they would move. And they moved in like a day.
Huh.
And he was like, well, I need more copies, Mike. And then he started distributing it to other people. And then it started getting out there. And then it was huge. It became huge. It blew up in a way we never expected. It was just supposed to be something for the family, really. To watch and just to enjoy and get a laugh at. This is what Dave does that we don't know about. And
do you think the videos came out as I'm going to keep saying videos, even though that's technically incorrect. Do you think they came out so well, the films, because your brother was producing and directing and you were so comfortable around him that
big part of the equation?
He was able to get reactions and just things that nobody else would have been able to get out of you.
Yeah, I remember he's told me many, many times that after working with me, he thought, if he went out into the world of pro bodybuilding, it would be the same. He'd have the same type of story subjects, and they would give him that unprecedented access into their lives. And that did not happen. They were freezing up. They were uncomfortable. They wanted him to stay in, and it was not the same at all. And he had to really work to get the kind of candid feeling that he got filming me. And yeah, it had a lot to do with the fact that it was my brother. I was very comfortable with him. After a couple of days, the camera became invisible to me. And I'm just living my life and I'm not even aware of the camera. And that's when good shit happens.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's because you weren't self-conscious. And I think that's what he ran into with all these he got great footage from other people for sure, but you could tell they always knew
but he had to really pull teeth to get it.
You could see they knew there was a camera there and there was, they were trying to be comfortable, but you can't relax. Most people, they just can't.
You could feel it was palpable. Yeah, it was palpable. You could feel it.
So how did 2 and 3 come about?
Because 1 was so successful. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to the national level. I'm going to do North Americans. I'm going to do junior nationals. And I'm going to try to get my pro card over the next few years and see what happens. And he goes, well, we got to follow up on this. We can't just drop it now. So he would follow me. He flew with me to Ohio and to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
For the Masters Nationals, where was my first national attempt. I took fifth there. And then the North Americans, where I won 3 times in a row.
Yeah. So did Mike, did you guys wish you had the perfect ending to the, here's the pro card and this and that, and you could have faded out?
Yeah, but it's kind of like Rocky 1, though, if you think about it. Yeah. That movie was better because he didn't win.
Right.
And a lot of people could relate to the fact that, relate to me as this guy who really isn't this genetic freak. I'm just not. And had to work for every little thing he had as far as his physique is concerned. And then got to that level at 40 years of age plus. Won the heavyweights, beat a lot of bigger names than me in that class that year. And then just narrowly lost the pro card. I think more people could relate to that, although either ending would have been fine.
Yeah, true.
Preferred the other ending.
So, you didn't start.
I did want that card. I did.
I know. But I mean, do you look back and think, how would my life be different if I had, obviously on Instagram, it wouldn't be at David Pulcinella. It would be IFBB Pro David Pulcinella or David.
Yeah, but big deal these days.
I know. I
don't think my life would have been different at all.
Yeah.
In fact, if it had tempted me to do some pro shows, I think my life wouldn't have been as good, because right after I retired, I just started pouring myself into my business instead of competing. I wasn't worried about spending 6 months out of every year putting myself in a box.
Yeah.
So I think my life was actually better because I retired, at that particular moment. I think it was the right thing to do. And I think instinctually my body and my mind were telling me, this is it. Even if they gave it to you next year, which they probably would have.
Yeah.
I mean, how many years in a row do I need to win the class and lose the overall?
I don't even know. I don't think you even need to win the overall anymore at that show. I don't think.
You don't. And that kind of.
Yeah. I don't know if you know my friend Matt Puglia. He won that Supers Masters at least once, maybe twice, but same deal. Back then, only the overall got it.
Yeah, man. I just couldn't get that overall. And one year, the most painful of all was 2006, when I had handily won the heavyweights, right?
Yeah.
Then when I went to go back on stage for the overall pose down, I was hit with some horrible cramping. And they had to hook me up to an IV backstage, and I was going to pull the needle out, and I was going to go back on stage when they called for the call. And Mannion pushed me back in the chair. He said, "You're not going anywhere, son."
Wow.
And he put the needle back in, and he did not allow me. I wasn't allowed to go back on stage to get the pro card, and that probably would have been my year.
Jeez.
A lot of people in attendance said it probably would have been.
Is that on? I didn't see all the 3 videos. Was that on video, that part?
No, Michael couldn't make it to that one.
That would have been.
He talks about it, but he didn't get the footage.
Yeah. I got to throw this in there. He's a great narrator. He's got a great narrator.
He's got the voice, man.
At first, I thought he was hiring some narrator, and then I heard him talking.
No, that's him.
That's him. Yeah.
Yeah. When he was young, we were in grade school together.
Yeah.
And there was this passion play, because we went to Catholic school. They had the passion play for Easter every year.
Yeah.
And every year they'd get him to do the voice of Jesus. He would have the microphone. He'd be behind the pulpit, and he'd be like, "These 14 steps, which we are about to take." He had the voice back then when he was, preteen.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Man. But yeah, like I said, it's that dream of being a pro. But everyone I've talked to that stopped competing and put all that time and energy into a business, they're so successful now, because people don't understand how all-consuming competing
if you do it right.
Exactly. If you do it right, that's time you wake up, time you go to sleep, even while you're asleep. It's 100%. All about that.
Yes, even while you're asleep. It's 100% dedication, and nothing else gets in, nothing else gets out. It is a self-contained, journey. It is, man. And you put yourself on this lockdown. And if you don't do it that way and have a day that's precise, every morning you're getting up at a specific time, you're on that bike at the specific time, your meal one is a specific time, your training is, if you don't do it that way, you're just not going to be as effective as you could be on stage.
Correct. And I mean, like you said, for the genetic elite, they can maybe miss a meal or something during prep, but
I can't.
For someone
10 pounds.
Exactly. I mean, most people don't realize that the vast majority of people competing at the amateur level are not genetic freaks. No, if it was only genetic freaks, the NPC would have gone out of business in 1983 or 2, whenever it started. But so, yeah, props to you.
When I look at how long it took me to win a local show, I mean, it's crazy. It was like 10 years.
Yeah.
I wasn't genetically gifted.
And now it's time to talk about those rotten kids today.
These kids today, let me tell you, in our day, everything was great.
But we used to dream about bodybuilding going mainstream, and I wish more people were into it. And well, we kind of got our wish, kind of. Whereas so many people want to compete now. From the minute they start training, they're putting hashtag going pro on their Instagram, and they're documenting every set they do and progress pictures every day. It's the same freaking picture over and over again every day.
It's the same picture.
I mean, it drives me nuts. I can imagine it must drive you nuts.
It drives me insane, dude. It's like you haven't done anything yet. Do something. And what are you filming? You haven't done anything with any sort of intensity. And why are you filming that? What is this really about training, or is it about just putting something on Instagram? And it literally is just about putting something on Instagram.
Yeah.
You have no muscles.
I mean,
how about you build yourself a basic structural physique first, and then you talk about turning pro. Yeah. Turning pro, you haven't even eaten like 3 clean meals in a row. Come on, man.
I mean, well, you're a coach, Dave, correct? You coach a lot of people for competition. So do you have to have these tough conversations with a lot of aspiring competitors?
I'll tell it like
you did a great video. I think it was 10 things to know. 10 things
before you get into
and it was spot on.
These kids, they come in there and they're like, okay, what's your goal? Okay, I want to do a show. Okay, and I'm the guy. I'm looking at him. It's like, looks like he's never stepped foot in a gym. First of all, which is okay. We have to start somewhere. I get that. Yeah. But I remember when I was at that level and that stage of wanting to do a show, and I had very little muscle.
Yeah.
But I was a student of the sport. I studied the sport. I followed a meal plan. Now, obviously, I had the advantage of having my father.
Right.
Not everyone has that. But now they have the advantage of you freaking tube. You can find out anything. Just punch it into the search.
Yeah.
And you can find out anything. So they come to me and they're like, I want to do a show. I'm like, okay. Well, let's see, how your basic structure looks. Take your shirt off and roll your pants up, and then give me do some quarter turns for me. Some
quarter turns.
What are quarter turns?
Yeah.
Can you do a double bicep? What do you know about this sport that you claim you want to do? Do you have any idea what the lifestyle looks like at all? Do you understand what will be expected of you on a daily basis from morning to night? You don't. Before you say, I want to do a show, like, why do you want to? Well, my friend did one and he said he had a good time. You need more. Have you ever even attended one and look at what happens on the stage? No. It's just like the in thing now to want to do a show.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I won't entertain that.
Good for you. I mean, that's so many coaches, because there's so many coaches now. My God, everyone's a coach. I mean, everyone at my gym who's done any show, if they've done one show, they become a coach like overnight. They're a coach.
The problem is there's no qualifying anything. You don't have to take a test or have a degree to any sort of like prep coaching degree. Right. You just call yourself a prep coach and get an Instagram channel going.
Yeah, I took 3rd place. Of course, there's only 3 people. They don't mention that.
It's still 3rd place.
3rd place counts. But well, let me ask you this about coaching. Some competitors get an equal amount of satisfaction, sometimes even more satisfaction, helping other people achieve their goals, win shows, whatever. How would you rate the satisfaction you get from getting results for clients versus when it was you doing it years ago?
If it was me, it would be a 10. When it's a client, it's a 6. That's my honest answer.
Very honest of you. Very honest.
That's my answer.
Yeah.
I get excited about it. It's a feather in our cap and everything, but I wish it was me.
Yeah. I mean,
and I get envious. Especially when I have like really genetically gifted bodybuilders in my office, and I'm looking at the beautiful lines and the shape that I never really had. And I'm just like, he's young, he's coming up, he's growing, he's fresh, his muscles are fresh. There's a huge level of envy that I have going on there.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm not going to lie about that.
Well, this happens to me. We're sharing a lot of experiences here. When you see somebody like that and they don't have the mental capacity either, they don't have the drive, they don't have the work ethic, the discipline, the willpower. Physically, they have it. I've seen a lot of people who physically have all the tools. They could have been a good pro, but they're never even going to turn pro because they're they're F-ups.
Absolutely.
They won't stick to their diet.
Absolutely.
They're always getting,
and those two things usually go hand in hand. It's weird. The better genetics, the lazier they are because they can get away with it.
Yeah. So when you get both of those in one person, though, which is a rarity, all that
it's almost a not ever happening entity.
Yeah, but those people don't
so
get
rare.
They're very hard to beat. Those people, the ones who have both, but it is rare.
Yeah. So I try to instill that in them. They'll come to the table with this shitty work ethic, but I try to instill in them. I will try to warn them before they get to that level that there's going to be a whole bunch of thems on stage. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, you're great. You have great structure. There's going to be 20 of you on stage, and many of whom have worked harder than you.
Right.
Are you prepared to lose to someone who just did more work than you and that you gave them this time? So I'll say things like that. Sometimes it resonates, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah. And I mean, you must have to educate a lot of these people on the criteria, because a lot of these newbies to competition, the ones, like you said, they just started training, they just got into this and they want to get on stage, but they have no concept of like what judges are looking for, what the criteria are. And sometimes when they get beaten badly, they think it was politics. They have no, and they're getting
it's always politics.
They're getting so much smoke blown up their ass on social media by their buddies and their family and just people that follow them, that they have no idea either what judges are looking for. So they might be missing a whole slew of body parts. They might be way out of shape, and they'll be like, "You got robbed, bro. This is bullshit, bro."
Oh, I'll tell it straight to that person. The worst thing you can have is a whole bunch of co-signers and ass kissers in your corner.
Co-signers.
Seriously, man, that is the worst thing you can have.
Yeah.
Because they're just never going to tell it like it is. And they probably don't even know like it is. Like your friends are just saying, "Oh, you're the best looking thing in the gym, so you're going to win." Oh, I love when people say that. "Oh, you're going to win."
Yeah.
Like, you don't know who's going to be there. You have no idea. Just because I look good right now with a pump in the gym doesn't mean I'm going to win the nationals.
Yeah. No, I mean,
and that's the other thing, Ron. Everybody, they win at their local show or they take top 3 and they qualify for nationals. That means they have to go to nationals.
Yeah. Well,
and they spend all this money and time going to nationals, leave with their little goodie bag full of like protein bars and protein packets, and they're sent home after 60 seconds on stage.
You forgot to mention that they call every show the nationals.
Every show that's not a local show is the nationals.
The USA is the nationals. The North America is the nationals. The Masters nationals.
Is the nationals.
It's all the nationals. Oh, it drives me nuts. I mean,
that's great. I forgot about that one.
Sometimes at least they'll say like the Miami Nationals or something like
that.
Right,
the Miami Nationals.
See, at least it was the right show, but they tacked on the city for some reason. But,
that's great.
I know we sound like a couple old bitter bastards right now.
That's because we're a couple of old bitter bastards.
Well, yeah. Let's see if you're as psychotic as I am. Again, here's another one. You're born in 64, which means in 2 years you'll be 60.
Right.
You could do over 60 at a multitude of shows.
No.
You could. Why would you, or why wouldn't you?
I wouldn't, for one reason, and one reason only. I'm not getting back on stage and being that guy. Oh, Dave used to be this, and that's the last view we had of him was him missing this body part or that body part. If I can't go on stage looking as good or better, just like back then when I retired, I won't do it. And now there's so much nerve damage. I'm missing like parts of my calves disappeared. My triceps are disappearing from nerve damage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, so you start to lose volume in certain body parts and certain muscles recede. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
I do.
Like the attachment point gets shorter, they kind of recede. So it's not the same as
it's way up there.
That's what I'm talking about. So I can't go on stage with receded body parts and the inner head of my calves missing, which they're gone.
Yeah.
And no amount of calf raise is going to get them back. So if I'm not in complete control of what my body can look like, and at this point in my life, I'm not, I won't do it.
But even if let's say you look at this year's Masters Nationals, the coverage, you see the over 60 winner and you're like, oh my God, I could beat that guy right now. The way I look.
That inspires me zero.
Really? Okay.
To win the over 60 anything, who gives a shit?
I know.
I don't give a shit. And Dave finally got his pro card in the ultra grandmasters. Who cares, man? That doesn't excite me at all. I drew the line at the over 40. If I had won the over, because that's still a very, very competitive class. Because you got guys that they're absolute best at 40.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have guys that they're absolute best at 50 or 60. So
No,
winning that class is just like, that's the old man class. To me, winning the over 40 class still wasn't the old man class, because I was placed in top 5 in the open North Americans
in your
when I
40s.
was winning the masters part.
Yeah.
So I was top 5 material in the open against everybody in 2006.
So over 60 is old man class, but they go over 70. I think, didn't they even have over 80 at one point?
Absolutely over 80.
Wow. God. I mean, if we even make it to 80.
Dude, I'm certainly won't be on stage.
Probably not. I mean,
no, dude, I don't see the point.
Well, you win. You're less psychotic.
I was still motivated by getting my pro card in my the over 40 class. That still motivated me. But winning the over 60 is just trash.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, let me get your take on, you go back as far as me and a little bit before. So you're back from the days when it was just bodybuilding, men's and women's bodybuilding.
Yeah.
There was no classic, men's physique.
There was figure towards the end.
Figure was like early, I would say
2000s.
Fitness, I think, was the first one they added. And then figure came in right after that. But, are you still a fan of the sport the way you were years ago? What are your favorite divisions? What do you know?
I love it. I watch it every day.
Okay.
I spend a good amount of my day on YouTube watching, just seeing what's going on, seeing who the best physiques are. I'm not as enamored with the physiques as I was at one point. I don't think they're as good. I think when the sport grows, you have a lot of analogous physiques that are kind of just samey. Like everyone, do I need to see another guy doing a hands class most muscular looking exactly like the other guy doing a hands class most muscular? Back in the day, I hate to sound like that, but it's true. Every physique was kind of unique.
It was
different shapes, different sizes. You had Franco and Arnold and Lou, and that's going way back. But each physique was so unique. And even in the 90s, you had Lee Haney and you had Tom Platz, and you had Danny Padilla, and then they were all so unique.
Yeah.
Everyone was different. Now it's kind of just like a cookie cutter.
That being said,
I'm still enamored of the sport. I still love the sport, and I still follow it.
Give me like 3 guys that are still competing today that you think they still represent a lot of the ideals that you
Rafael Brandao.
Okay.
Comes to mind. Love that physique. Sebum, but I like Sebum to a degree, but he has too many gaps in his physique. His physique is all gaps. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
The muscles, but he has the general idea going on.
Yeah.
In the open, I like Hadi Chupin. Conditioning, still has the small waist, can do a vacuum.
Yeah.
Nick Walker, just for the freak factor.
Okay. Good call.
Yeah. Those guys.
Okay. Rami.
Just off the top of my head.
Yeah. I mean, I love Rami as a person. Physique wise, to me,
don't like his physique.
It's just things. Just to me, it just doesn't flow. It's like
I hate him as our Mr. Olympia. I just don't like it.
Yeah, I mean,
I liked Phil, fantastic, and Roden, fantastic. What a great shift that could have been in the sport. It really could have been,
right? Had
he been able to compete and defend his title the next year.
Yeah,
that got all screwed up.
It's
just a big amount of just a big mishmash of parts thrown together.
Yeah,
and doesn't really have the conditioning that I think he should carry. If he would just let go of another 10 freaking pounds and not worry about it, he'd be so much more effective. He would actually, in my opinion, look bigger.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, his waist would be smaller.
I mean, I don't know if you were around. Were you at that 2013 New York Pro, his pro debut?
No.
I hate to say, because it sounds like I'm being a jerk, but to me, that's the best. That's the best Rami I can recall.
What year?
2013. It was his pro debut.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Back then, he was way better.
He was like 280, 275, 280, I think.
Just, just because you're getting bigger doesn't mean you're getting better. So far, Nick Walker, which is why I mentioned him, has gotten bigger and better.
Right.
But to be honest with you, I can see in the near future, he's going to be all midsection. Because his midsection is growing at the same pace as everything else. I don't know what you can do about that, because the anabolism goes everywhere and abs are a muscle.
Well, he's 5'7" too. It's hard when you have a shorter frame.
So much meat. I literally think he should stop growing and just
refine.
Focus on refinement.
Yeah, I agree.
I want a micro millimeter here and millimeter there, and just adjusting things, because he's there. He doesn't need to have any more meat on his bones.
True. So we're gonna start wrapping it up. How can people get a hold of you? Are you still accepting clients? Because some people are like, no, I don't want any more clients.
I am, although, I'm very, very busy, but I can still take on some clients.
Okay. So you have Instagram. It's your name, at David Pulcinella.
That's it.
And what's the website? Is it Pulse Nutrition?
It's Pulse advancednutrition.com.
Pulse, kind of like Pulcinella, but pulse like a pulse.
Yeah, like the pulse. Yeah, pulse, right. PULSE advancednutrition.com. And that'll take you to my website.
Cool. So are you going to be at any of the shows coming up, like New York Pro, where people might be able to meet you?
Yes. My client, Eric Abalon, who just won his pro card at the Nationals by winning the overall in classic physique, has his pro debut coming up. So I'm probably going to attend that.
Oh, wow.
As far as local shows, I'm going to be at the Delaware. Got many people in the Delaware State East Coast Classic, like I do every year. Yeah. And then Rich Siegelman's show in Baltimore. I have several clients going into that, so I'll be there.
Awesome.
I still love doing that. I still love going to the shows, man.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of a bummer when we had like no expos for a couple of years. It was like,
yeah, it was awful, wasn't it?
It was creepy. It was like,
it was creepy. It was like being in an alternate universe.
I was at the Arnold when they had no audience.
How sad.
That was terrible. It was like big empty auditorium and all these guys posing their hearts out. And there's like, the press row was it, and the judges.
You imagine? I can't imagine prepping for that. The whole idea is to be up in front of people.
I mean, that wasn't the worst. The worst was people prepping for shows that got canceled at the last minute.
Yeah.
Oof. Like
I'd actually rather have that than be on stage in front of no one. I'm going to go on record as saying that. I'd rather postpone it to a time when I can be in front of an audience.
Yeah, I mean, it's to go to all that work and nobody's really looking at it. It's a bummer, but anyway, I want to thank you, Dave. It's been very cool.
Oh man, my pleasure.
Finally talking to you.
I haven't seen you since 2010 at Bev Francis's gym. I don't know if you remember that.
Was that the party, the MD party? Yeah, it was a good time.
I was there. Greg, what's his name?
Greg Valentino was there.
Valentino was there. Lee Priest was there. Yeah.
It was Bob. Oh, was it Bev's gym or Bob Bonham's gym?
Oh, Bob Bottoms, yeah.
Yeah, right. Bob, R.I.P. Bob, but yeah, strong and shapely gym. Right. That was a good time.
It was a good time, man.
Yeah, well, great finally talking to you. It's the first time we've ever really talked. But
this is true. And I hope it's not the last.
No, we could do it again. I'm going to get some topics together and pick your brain.
I thought the questions were going to be more hard hitting than that. You got to go deeper, man.
Next time.
I'm an open book.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. And let's do this again sometime soon.
Sure.
Cool. All right. Well, everybody, thanks for watching Ronline Report with Dave Pulcinella. Please subscribe to the channel, like, share, comment, hit that bell thing, do all the good stuff. We appreciate it. And we'll see you right here next time on the Ronline Report. Thanks for watching.